last bit, you know, it's the same thing we say when we want to recruit for the police, we want to recruit for the military services. Those are the kind of, the people you just described are the kind of people that they need to be, that they look out for, that they vet and all of that. Just to be sure that we have the proverbial round peg in a round hole. Now, the other thing you were talking, well, because when you were talking about communities, their communities, I said, well, forests are part of the community, true, it is true, but there's so many, the number of forests in the report that was released by Mr. Sunday Dari, the special advisor to the president on media and public communication. It had been said that there are 1,129 forests that were, you know, mentioned in the president's marching orders. So this suggests that it's a major operation, and not all the forests are necessarily in the north, where, you know, our people are being troubled, right? It's not just in the north. It shows that Absolutely. It's a big operation. It's a mammoth operation if we're going to be securing 1,000, almost 1,130. Specifically 1,129 forests in the country. So that shows the scale of the operation.
Yes, it is. This is, and I'm happy that you have introduced this, the magnitude and the seriousness to which Nigerians need to commit, you know, to this forest guard. As I mentioned earlier on, forest guard might be our last stand in totally bringing these terrorists to their knees. And we can do it. But we need to give it the required commitment. And I'm happy that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is establishing this outfit as a federal outfit, because it desires that level of attention and that level of commitment. Yes, we have over 1,129 forests. We have the population. In fact, the Northern Christian Youth Professionals had earlier over these years proposed a minimum of 185,000 youths to be recruited, you know, for this operation, including that means 5,000 from each state. And I'm happy that when I saw the Sunday Diaries reports, statement on this, I noticed that they made mention between 2,000 to 5,000. So that still falls within the recommendation of NCYP. I'm saying that we can cover those forests. Those forests can be covered. What Nigerians need to understand is that Nigerians are tired. Nigerians can do anything, especially the people who are suffering these problems, the people in the villages, the people in the hinterlands, the people in the forest. These people who are very vulnerable to attacks, they are tired and they are ready. I can assure you, I've worked with civilian joint task force. I've worked with these vigilantes from all corners of the north. I have also worked with some of them in the south, in the south, the Niger Delta. These people are committed to protecting their communities.
All right.
And as such, if we can recruit them and deploy them to these forests, the focus, and I'm happy the president made emphasis on the forest. The focus of this should be in these forests, because that is where these people are hiding.
Okay. One moment, please. One moment, please, Mr. Abrak. I'll come back to you, of course. One moment. I beg your pardon. One moment. Mr. George has called in. So, good morning, Mr. George, and thank you for holding on.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning
to our guest.
Mr. Abrak, yes.
Uncle Yori, I want to thank Mr. President for following his manifestos. This forest guard is part of the manifestos of his renewed hope agenda. Remember, I also want to remind Mr. President not to forget about the commodity boards that he promised to establish that will serve as a buffet between farmers and the populace that consume farm produce. Coming to this forest gas issue, Uncle Yori, I believe it will work, given the success recorded by Amotekun in the southwest. What I would want to suggest to make it work, he has already said that they will be armed. But they should not be given double-barrel guns. They should be armed with nothing less than AK-47. And now, Uncle Yoro, you know that in many of the forests, bandits are occupying parts of some forests, and these bandits are well armed. They are the types that will go to even army barracks and overrun army barracks. These forest guards cannot tackle those ones. Those areas, they should work in synergy with the military. So first of all, dislodge these people from those forests. Then the forest guards will now take possession so that they do not return again. So that is one suggestion I want to make. They on their own cannot single-handedly dislodge those terrible bandits that are occupying some parts of the forest. Thank you.
Thank you. We also are joined by our friend, our security expert, Dr. Kabir Adamu. He also has joined us via Zoom. He's CEO of Beacon Security Consulting. Good morning, Dr. Adamu.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming on. Many people, it's good cheer. Let me get your impression first about the fact that, look, Mr. President has said that we have 1,129 forests to secure, and we take that against the backdrop of what he had said earlier, that we will not give up an inch of our territory. So in between the armed forces and other specialists that are dealing with the matter, we've now come up with forest guards, which, as Mr. George was just saying, the president has said will be highly trained. They have to be highly trained and armed. Your impressions about this?
I think it's a commendable move, and it's also a fulfillment of a promise. If you look at the Renewed Hope agenda, that element was stated there in the Renewed Hope agenda. And we know that since his swearing in, he has moved to achieve that promise. Last year, at a meeting with the governors, he did kind of recommend to them in a very subtle way to go ahead and recruit these forest guards. As you are aware, a significant portion of these forests are under the control of the state governors. And so it's very understandable when the federal government works with them to achieve improved security in them. So in spite of that advice and that recommendation, we didn't see much traction in that area. And so it's quite commendable that we're now hearing that the federal government is working to ensure that these states recruit these forest guards. The second point, which I think is also absolutely important, is that the National Assembly, to around the same time, came out to tell us through a motion that there is already a bill that they have submitted to the president, waiting for his assent on a forest security bill. And we know that over time, there has been moves by hunters, by several other components to come together in some form of coalition to enhance forest protection. So that's kind of where I have some worry. There are several existing structures at the moment. I just mentioned Hunters Association. I just mentioned the bill that has been submitted according to the National Assembly to the president for his assent. And then there is no state at the moment that does not have a state-level structure that is involved in, guarding the forest. In the southwest, you have the Amoteco. They are involved in some way in surveillance of the forest. In the north, you have different types of vigilantes that are involved in that, plus the Hunters Association. And then when you look at the MDAs, the ministries, departments, and agencies, the civil defense, the NSCDC has the agro rangers. The police too has a specialized unit on forest. The Ministry of Agriculture has also a unit. So there are several existing structures. And so the first question when I heard the presidential statement, or rather the release by one of the media aides by the president, is what are we going to do with these existing structures? Are we going to also substitute them? Or are we going to repeat what we've seen in recent times where a new structure will be created and it's not going to be subsumed into the federal security arrangement. So these are some of the thoughts in my head at the moment.
Okay. Indeed, the matter of the president also spoke about training. Mr. Abrak has also spoken about that. He spoke about training and the fact that they have to be armed. And Mr. Abrak, no, it was not Mr. Abrak. It was somebody who had phoned in that, sort of hoped that they would not be kitted out with ineffectual arms. What your thoughts on the kind of arms? Will it depend on the training? Because I don't know if it's a fair or reasonable comparison, but even when young men are recruited into the military, upon the training, they are able to wield such sophisticated weaponry. So what are your thoughts about the kind of weaponry, since Mr. President himself said that they need to be well armed and well trained?
So there is a lot of concern there. Some of us who have studied, defense and criminology understand the dangers of the militarization of any society. At the moment, we're dealing with the challenge of proliferation of small arms and light weapons to the extent that we had to create a center to mop up the small arms and light weapons. So increasing the militarization is not going to be good for our future, the future of the country. And so the right framing, the right synchronization of the role of these forest guards is absolutely important. And some of us, and I think my co-discussant did mention this, there is what we call take, hold, and rebuild in military balance, where the military comes in, takes over a location, makes sure that location is sanitized, and then they can hand over to another organization. So as an example, the forest guards can play that role. After the military has taken over, they can hand over to them with enough weaponry. Of course, I'm not supportive of militarization, so it can be military-grade weapons. And that means, Uncle Yuri, the greatest challenge that we have is to advance our strategy in such a way that the forests are not seen in silos. No matter how we militarize or give weapons to the forest guards, if we don't block or improve border security, if we don't reduce the ability of the bad guys, the threat element, to recruit from within this pool of about 150 million youths that are, most of them out of job and that are easy prey to them, then we're not going to see any advancement in our national security aspirations. So it must be strategic. It must be done in a manner that the strategy is one that understands that, look, it's not just about creating forest guards. It must be a holistic approach that addresses the root causes of our national security challenge, so that this new initiative complements existing initiatives and is not seen as a separate and self-subsisting initiative. That's the only way to go. So in summary, I do not think it would augur well for our future if we just militarize without taking into consideration the necessary steps to address the root causes of insecurity. As we've discussed so many of them in previous editions of my appearances here. But if time would permit, I can go into those root causes so that we understand the need to address them holistically and not just create structures and thinking that those structures will solve the problem.
Okay. So there you have it, Dr. Mr. Abrak. The thoughts on weaponry that they would bear. Yes, to be armed is one thing, but you heard Dr. Adamu there say that caution might be might be necessary. That we have to be very careful there. You had advocated that, well, when you said that let it not be double-barrel guns that they will give them, we got the impression that what you're saying is that sophisticated weapons, which Dr. Adamu has just cautioned against. What do you feel about this? Are you in agreement with him?
Yes, I am in agreement with him. This was why I mentioned the importance of the method of recruitment. We must look at the individuals that we're recruiting. They must, first of all, be individuals of certain character and integrity. and there must be individuals that we can account for. And how do we account for them? By recruiting them through community leaders, through the traditional rulers.
Okay.
So that way we know that these are the people, these are the profile of the people that we are recruiting. In that manner, we can then, weigh the risks, manage the risks that these people can misbehave, with our weapons. Then secondly, the issue about dealing with issues about poverty, which is the main issue, which is another issue that has created these problems of insurgency or has allowed the insurgency to swell. The creation of the Forest Guard, which is going to recruit 1,300 youths, especially from these communities, is another way that the Northern Christian Youth Professionals has long been saying that is another way of creating employment and putting wealth in those communities. Imagine, let's just say each individual is going to earn 70,000 naira or 80,000 naira, and there are 20 people or 10 people from that community. Multiply that amount and see that in that community, every month in that community will take in that money. It is something that can help to improve the living conditions of those people at inception.
Okay.
Then going forward, I'd like to also a bit respond to the issue about the use of weapons, the grade of weapons that should be given to them. I totally see a lot of reason in the fact that we cannot begin to carry AK-47 and RPGs and all of those weapons and give these people at inception. I think that we should build grade by grade. When we train them, we're asserting them, we give them light weapons, and we take the pulse of how they have used it, the level of discipline, and how we have gone, then we can now increase it. Amotekun did not start with AK-47. Some of them are still using pop actions, but they have achieved a lot of results because the desire, the commitment of the people is there. And I'm saying that the Nigerian people, the people in the communities whom have continuously been killed, been attacked, they are tired and they want to protect themselves. And I can assure you, we still have very good Nigerians.
Okay.
People who would come out and serve efficiently and adequately in this. And just to add on query, that one of the issues of the training that we have continuously drummed up to Mr. President is that there must be training on nationalism. There must be training on patriotism. There must be training on the role of citizenship. And finally, we must remind those we are going to recruit, whether as managers or as foot soldiers in the Forest Guard, of the one Nigeria dream of our forefathers. They must understand that if you are guarding your village, your community, in Sanga local government, for instance, or in Kwande local government, for instance, or in Akwa Ibom, understand that that forest that you are manning and you are securing your community is a gateway to Akwa Ibom. And as such, you are securing the whole country, not just Nigeria. If we approach it in that manner, we will avoid issues of where people grandstand, territorial dominance, where people will feel that, this is my village, I'm protecting it, you cannot come from another community, and pass or dwell here. No.
All right.
People must be made to understand that they are serving Nigeria.
Okay, then. Let me, Dr. Adamu, let me come back to you. I take, your caution, your advice of caution over how they will be armed. But I suppose the new part of this story, this idea of forest guards has been in the air for a while. And now Mr. President has indeed executed the action, so to speak. Say, let it go. Train them, arm them. Now, you said we need to be careful about that, about how they are armed. In fact, I believe you, paraphrasing you, I think you said definitely not military-grade weapons. But the bad guys that they might be confronting are not carrying gentle weapons, if there is any such thing. That is why one of our viewers this morning, Mr. George, calling in from Lagos, has said that he hopes that they have AK-47s because he's thinking of the effectiveness against the enemy, who will not be pointing pump action rifles at them. So well, yeah, let me not ask two questions at once. First of all, clarify that a bit. The enemy they will be confronting will be having sophisticated, these are people that go to military barracks. So what will these people do if they don't have, relatively sophisticated weaponry with which to confront them? Dr. Adamu?
So my point is that we need to look at the entire move as part of a strategy that includes, first off, blocking the avenue through which these bad guys get their weapons. That's number one. And we know where they get their weapons. They get them from internal sources and then from external sources. So we need to first block that. And then the second point is to carry out a holistic operation. As far back as 2019, and I say this with all sense of responsibility, we have already mapped all the bases of the bad guys. So we know where these bases are. Anyone who says we don't know is lying to us. As far back as 2019, we know where these bases are. So the second move rather, would be to go and destroy these bases and arrest the ones that we should arrest, destroy their logistical supply chains. And by doing that, we have now reduced their capacity to a point where the forest guards can now man the forest. The military will have to do that because no other agency in Nigeria at the moment has the capacity to do that. So that is the responsibility of the military. But once that is done,
every weekday on Business Nigeria, we uncover the secrets of the financial world.
We analyze the stock market, shares, bonds, and the thrilling world of crypto.
If you then imagine after that initial operation has been done, we should be able to, based on the surveillance capabilities that we have, deploy speedily with the support of the military. And then the fourth element is the kind of synergy that would exist. I always say this, that there are 29 MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies in security. They need to work together. Some of these bad guys come through the forest. Now, if the agency responsible for border security, because of course there are forests that cuts across several countries, so they can move through those countries down into Nigeria. If the ministry or the agency or the department responsible for border management, through surveillance, picks up that movement, they can quickly inform the military, who in turn will now deploy speedily to assist them. So my summary is we should not look at this as a single line. There are several points of convergence between different ministries, and so that once we tame them to a point where civil organizations such as the forest guards can take over, then the military would kind of move back and allow them to take over.
All right then. Okay, I tell you what, at this stage, Dr. Adamu and Mr. Abrak, we'll take a short break, but please stay with us. We'll be right back.
TVC News Weekend Lineup. TVC Breakfast Saturday with Kemi Fola Adeyemo and Emmanuel Ajayi. Political Standpoint with Precious Amayo. Newsweek with Mark Otabo. Politics and Sunday with Femi Akonde. Community Forum with Sarah Yeku. Get ready for the biggest stories, fresh perspectives, and burning news discussions that round up the weekend. Only on TVC News.
Okay, we're looking at the news that Mr. President has actually, given life, given bite to the idea that we should arm forest guards, and that there are going to be quite a number of them because there are 1,129 forests to secure. Not all the forests are in the north where we have trouble. But let me come to you, Dr. Adamu, for a particular question that has been plaguing my mind. What we're trying to do here is to push these people back, push the bad guys back. I mean, we want to take them out. We just don't want them in our forests anymore. So I wanted to ask, where to, if we were, I'm praying that we will be successful. In fact, we will be successful. But where do we push these people to? Do we push them out of the country? Because they say some people say that they are coming from neighboring countries. Or do we have enough jails if indeed they are tried and they are guilty and have to be processed? What's your idea in how are we going to reorientate them and then absorb them back into society? What's the plan? Because it looks like Mr. President, through this initiative, means business. But people that are going to be dislodged, what are we going to do with them?
Uncle Yuri, this is a beautiful question, and I must thank you for thinking, quote and unquote, outside the box. Most people think only kinetic when they hear of such issues. I was fortunate on the 6th of May to attend an international conference at the Bayero University, Kano, on rangelands. That conference is prelude to the year of rangelands and pastoralism, which has been declared by the United Nations in 2026. And this issue was discussed. We had in attendance international experts from the UK, from Australia, from Kenya, from different countries that have had similar challenges like us. Why I brought this up is, Uncle Yuri, we have expertise, we have knowledge, and I think the government should harmonize and harvest this knowledge. There are think tanks that exist in our educational institutions that are doing amazingly well. The discussions that were held at that conference, especially the lead paper that was presented by a British professor, I can't recall his name immediately, was amazing. He talked about the different policy directions, different policy options that would be useful in managing our rangelands. And in summary, rangelands are these locations where these forests reside. And so there is the understanding that beyond the bad guys, there are also good guys who are subsisting within those forests. So any action that you take will affect both the bad guys and the good guys. And so perhaps even before the action, the first thing to do is to undertake a study, map the people, as it were, that are inside those forests. I did tell you that as far back as 2019, I know that our military had conducted a mapping exercise where they were able to map all the bases of the bad guys, especially the bandits that existed in this forest. Now, 2019 is about like 6 years ago, so these things may have changed. I don't know if the military has been updating, their resources, as it were, for managing this challenge. If they haven't, then this is the time to link up with our universities, link up with our think tanks, the IITA in Ibadan, the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, the Alumni Association of the Defense College, and so many other think tanks. And then organizations like mine, Beacon Security and Intelligence Limited, we have a lot of resources that would support this initiative. So I agree with you totally. It should be done in a scientific manner where you get rid of the bad guys, but then you rehabilitate those among them who require rehabilitation. Okay. And then, of course, the ones that are domiciled, that are not criminal in any nature, we find a way to resettle them.
And also reassure them, because as you just pointed out, there are people who choose, for whatever reason, it is their right. You can live anywhere in Nigeria. They're not criminal in any way, but they live very, very close to the land. And even if you were to come and give them some place to live in urban areas, they would decline. We see documentaries of people who actually leave town and go into the deep forest to live on a survival level, not because they are poor, but because that is just their life. They don't want all these your neon lights and all of that. So I appreciate you bringing out that particular point, that there are all sorts of Nigerians and they need to be protected too. Now let me come to you, Mr. Isaac Abrak. The things that Dr. Adamu was speaking about here, haven't been covering this sector for the past 15 years. You're probably aware of those things that he spoke about. So if I were to flip the same question, what has been your experience in your coverage over the years, many years, about this particular question, about what do you do with people that you dislodge?
First of all, thank you for reiterating that I the fact that I've been covering this for many years. And that has given me the opportunity to draw conclusions that a good number of, almost more than 90% of most of the people creating problems in our forests are not Nigerians. Most of them come from our neighboring countries, even though some of them, especially given with the difficult economic situations, they are luring, our young people with some of the monies they get from their loots. So that is to say that since these people are not Nigerians, we can actually force them back to their countries by also increasing, making our borders more strict for people to come in. We can also persecute those who we can persecute and jail them here. Of course, amongst these terrorists, there are people that are forcefully recruited or people that are forcefully meant to live with them. Those are the ones that our militaries have continuously rehabilitated. Those ones...
Do you think, sorry to interrupt you, sir. Sorry to interrupt. Do you think that we have enough jail rooms, so to speak, to accommodate, because it can't be just a handful of people that are giving us these sleepless nights in Nigeria. And there are situations, security situations where, quite frankly, the very few countries have enough room to jail all convicts that it calls, that it manages to apprehend. So
yes.
It's that was worrying my mind, that can we,
yes.
for instance, God forbid, I don't know the number, so just talking off the top of my head, it might be silly. Let's say we had 5,000 people to incarcerate, for whatever reason. That would put a strain on our own, these custodial services. So that was what I was thinking about, in addition to the other things that Dr. Adamu has spoken about and that you yourself are also speaking about.
It's a valid concern, Mr. Reri, that you have. This is why I said that we can force some of them back to the countries where they come from. By continuously bombarding them where they are taking refuge, hiding in their forests, they will be forced back to their countries. We can arrest some of them and deport them back across the borders and make our borders more strict, especially those places that we know are leakages around our borders. We can find a way of closing those leakages. And this is where the forest guard comes very handy. I know that at some point the military identified about over 200 routes that these people are using to escape into Nigeria, illegal routes into Nigeria. So this is why the forest guards come handy. They are domiciled in those communities. Those forests where they escape into Nigerians are communities that belong to our people. We can also use the forest guard to collaborate with the immigration officers, to ensure that these people do not use those routes back into Nigeria. This is why I said that forest guard is likely our last stand. Is likely the most important agency or the most important policy that Nigeria would have made in combating terrorism. And for those that we cannot force them back, then those will be the one that we have to manage and put them in our prisons.
Okay.
Then there is a number of them that we can also rehabilitate. Because some of them we know are forcefully recruited into what is going on.
Okay.
So it is three options that are solutions that we're looking into there. But what I want to quickly add into all of this is to say that the economic part of it is to say that when we recruit locals from the forest communities, remember that most of these locals are basically agriculturalists. They are farmers. When you pay them, they will use some of these monies that is coming into them, into their farms. And if they secure the forest, it means that our farmers will now be able to farm. And if our farmers are able to go back to their farms, there will be collaboration with people not just in the forest guard, people of the community, collaborating with the community to ensure that these people do not come back to these farmlands again.
All right. Let me take. I beg your pardon. Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. I got to take Mazi Okorafo, who has called in. Good morning, Mazi Okorafo.
Good morning, sir. Good morning again. Sir, this issue of forest guys, I've been saying this in town with that number. We need.
Are you still with us? Mazi? We lost Mazi. Okay. Let me switch back to Dr. Adamu here. Talking about, if possible, let us push some of those foreign, some of these terrorists, whatever we want is the correct ways to call them. We're talking about bad guys, guys that don't mean our people well, guys that are, pointing the nozzles of their guns at us. With the regional situation now, where, for instance, Niger has opted out, even though our doors are still open. That is, the doors of ECOWAS are still open, and we're hoping that they will have a rethink. But that they are not cooperating, well, I shouldn't say it that way. Does that mean that they are not cooperating with us since they've declared their own association of Sahelian states?
The only thing that is permanent in international relations is interest. What has happened is the Nigerian interest has changed. As it's common with most military governments, they are jittery, especially about regime change. So what we've seen is they have moved troops internally as against stationing them in the border areas. They've also moved troops to enhance protection of their oil pipelines. As you're aware, the pipelines have been attacked from different sides, and because of the current circumstances of the Nigerian economy at the moment, they need to be able to export that oil, and so they need to enhance the protection of the pipeline. And so naturally, they have moved more troops.
Okay.
So it's really just about their interest. Recall that they've also announced not too long ago their decision, as it were, to pull out of the multinational joint task force.
Yes.
It's already known to everybody that the G5 force, as it were, has collapsed. And so the Sahelian region at the moment does not really have any strong regional collaboration for counterterrorism. The Accra initiative is there, but of course it's limited in terms of its scope. And it's not really taking
It's in that connection that I brought it up, that they might not consider it an important enough situation to start helping us, as it were, to block or arrest or apprehend people that we are pushing back to them. If we push them back, they sit down, they regroup, they recuperate, they might come back. That was the backdrop against which I sought your opinion on it. But in the meantime, I've been told that Mazi Okorafor has got back in again. So let's try again. Mazi Okorafor, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir. As I was saying, the network, don't mind, they are not serious. You see, as I was saying, to recruit people, those hunters should be part and parcel of the party that will recruit people. And the hunters should be part and parcel of the people that to take care of the terrain. And it should be done within the locality, within the community, to do what you call 247 job. And the honorable members, the 10 members, the local government, they should be part and parcel of the nation of all those people. Presently, there is no community that doesn't have all these neighborhood guards that are around the environment. They should recruit all these boys now. And we should tell about the sources for all this one we are going to do the job of the forest guard. Purely in the forest, not a situation whereby you see somebody carrying their gun, say something. No. Your job is done, and they should tell us that I'm being hot for them. And this is the time that we need this drone. Drone that the local government must try what is possible and provide them for themselves.
Okay.
With that drone, the drone will be big as the focus point of them, and they now be following the description of that drone. It will help us. I see no reason why we stay in this country. Some terrorists will come, the farmers cannot go to us. People that IGP everywhere. They are not carrying the problem to the federal government, which is not healthy. So the area we put into, but Nigeria is a very good country. We are good in policy making, but the important is that the implementation, honestly, the area we start this forest guard recruitment and train them, we have retired personnel, that's the men that have retired. Those ones that are ahead you to come into the action and join them. It will help us. So we need the need to now or never.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mazi. Okay, Isaac, let me come back to you on that one. I believe this was supposed to be more youth-oriented. It's new, you know. These forest guards. It's a new to be established newly, and they want youths in there. Perhaps one can understand that, but that gentleman, Mazi Okorafor, was suggesting that don't leave out the hunters. I think that's coming from knowing the terrain, and it has been explained by Dr. Kabir Adamu that you know, you need to separate it. The military will be doing their own, and these forest guards will also be doing their own. Everybody at his own levels, working collaboratively. What do you think about the matter about forest guards? In your experience, have you seen this kind of a thing in other countries?
Absolutely. Forest guards have succeeded in a lot of countries, especially in southern, in North American. We've seen where North American countries, we've seen where they've used their people, their forest guard or vigilante groups or community groups, you know, to ensure that they return back as security, you know, to their communities. But what permits me to quickly respond a bit to the issues that you mentioned to Dr. Kabir as regards to the military governments around, you know, our neighbors and Nigeria, and how it affects, you know, these issues about people coming in and how we can return them back. Over the years, Nigeria has always done well, you know, in insurgency. The only issue has always been that these governments and those governments were civilian governments.
I wanted to be clear what you mean that Nigeria has been doing well in insurgency. What did I?
Yes, we have. Our military forces have been doing very well in combating insurgency, in dealing with Boko Haram and Islam. Yeah, we have significantly dislodged them many a times, and we know that in most a times these people, you know, would go back to their countries and come back again, and these governments were civilian governments. So the question now is that why do these people think that Nigeria is their new Europe? Is Nigeria that they will be jackpot into? It is economic issues. If we look at the issues around the Sahel, looking at Lake Chad, for instance, the drying up of the Lake Chad, you know, took away over 5 million jobs from the people of those regions, both in Nigeria, Chad, and Niger. The Lake Chad is no more there, so these people continuously to come in. The headers are coming into Nigeria because the rains no longer stay longer in their countries like we have, especially in the Middle Belt.
Yeah.
So they continue to come downwards. So what do we do now? Now our militaries get to chase them back. They go back and they come back again because our militaries are not in the forests to hold back these areas to which they've been dislodged. Now we have the forest guard now that when our military dislodges them, the forest guard will go and hold those areas.
All right then.
Now,
well,
what do we do now?
I must interrupt. I beg your pardon because we've almost run out of time, and I did want to get Dr. Adamu's comment on the question that we have here, which is that you've just explained in international affairs, you know, the interests, you know, of people being what it is. But how long a fight do you think this is going to? Well, should I call it a fight? I guess in a global sense it is a fight. But is this a long-term operation? These forest guards that are being inaugurated by the president, that is now swinging into action, is it going to be? It's not a quick fix, is it? The forest guards are going to be stationed there, and maybe you'll be shifting, you'll be rotating, but they're going to become a permanent feature, which will become yet another headache for those that mean no good for our country and think that they can repose in our forests. It's a long-term operation?
It is a long-term operation.
Yes, that's Dr. Adamu. I'm sorry, I did apologize that we're out of time with Mr. Abraham, but I wanted to get a couple of sentences from Dr. Adamu on that point.
I don't know if you monitored the visit of President Trump to the Middle East, in particular in Qatar. He said something that really struck me, and I would recommend strongly to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to consider what President Trump said. So in direct response to your question, it depends on how the political will that both Mr. President and our governors approach this matter with. What President Trump did that struck me was he asked his team to find out which field officer has the capacity to end the situation in Iraq. He did not depend on the team in Washington. He asked for the team in Iraq to recommend an officer to him, and they recommended the officer. President Trump visited Iraq physically in his first tenure and met that officer, discussed with that officer, and agreed on the strategy. And believe me, the war in Iraq was managed almost effectively by that strategy. So what am I saying in short? President Tinubu should see this as an opportunity. He is steering the direction, but then he needs to also make sure he monitors the implementation in a manner that...
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Adamu. Sorry to rush you a bit, but indeed, it's an important point that we did get, and that was a memo from you to President Tinubu, say, take a leaf from all of that. And I want to thank you, Mr. Isaac Abrak, Chair of the Northern Christian Youth Professionals. Thank you very much for coming on. Dr. Kabir Adamu, the Chief of Beacon Security and Intelligence Consulting. Thank you both gentlemen for coming on the program and, airing this particular subject matter with us. Okay, that's our program. We're going to have to leave it here. Do please join us on Monday for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folari. Do have a great weekend.
Doubt and fear